Okay, now that we are able to draw a ball on our second screen, like this, we now want to get that ball to move. So I've added some code where if I press any key, that ball will start moving in the direction that I had set it, my dx and my dy. And then it just kind of goes on forever and ever. So I have not built in the bouncing yet. We'll just save that for the next video. So a few things that we're going to add here. So in my Brick Breaker game header, we have implemented mouse listener. So that was to allow for mouse clicks on the first screen. But we're going to add two more interfaces. So we're going to implement action listener and key listener. Okay, so action listener is going to allow us to create a timer so we can have something run every n milliseconds. And there's one abstract method inside this class, and it's called action performed. So down below, we're going to have to override the action performed method. And then key listener allows the game to respond to key presses. So there are three methods that we have to override, and those I'll show you down below as well. Okay, so you're going to add those two first. Then what I've added here is a Boolean variable called play, and I'm setting this equal to false. In other words, I don't want that ball to move right away. As soon as I get to the second screen, I want that ball to kind of be still. And then when I press a key, it will start moving. So it kind of gives the user kind of a fair game. Then we are going to create a timer object. Now we're just going to create the reference up here. And then inside the Brick Breaker game, we're going to actually assign this a new timer object. Okay. So then in the Brick Breaker game constructor, just underneath adding mouse listener, we're going to add a key listener. All right, so we're going to put this. For some reason, we don't have to say add action listener. Perhaps it's already kind of built in. I'm not sure why, but we do have to add a mouse listener and a key listener. Okay, and then if we scroll down, you can see that we're creating a new timer object, 10 this, and we're going to assign that to timer. Okay, so 10, this is any integer, and this basically is a time in milliseconds. So if you put 10, that means every 10 milliseconds, we're going to call the action performed method down below. If you put 1,000 in here, then that means every 1,000 milliseconds or 1 second, you will have this method run. Now, we don't want to put 1,000. That will kind of be too slow. So think of it as like a flip book. Like, when you were a kid, you drew certain images on a notepad, and then perhaps you flip through it to get an animation. So this is the time between animations here. So 10 is kind of a good starting number. What's really cool is you could make this a variable, and then you could change that variable as the game is played. So maybe it gets faster as you hit more bricks, or maybe you hit a special power-up brick and this variable changes. Okay, then we have to have these two lines here. So you're basically setting focus to the frame, and then you are set focus traversal keys enabled to false. Now I don't really know why you need to have this, but for some reason it does not work without it. Okay. Anyway, you could go and do some research to see what that actually is responsible for. And then we are going to start the timer. Okay, so the timer class has a method called start, and so that will now every 10 milliseconds run this method. Okay, so we're going to add this void method called action performed, and we're simply going to say if play is true. Okay, yes, you could say equals true if you'd like, but because it's a Boolean variable, we can just say if this is true. Then we're going to repaint. So this is going to call the paint method every 10 milliseconds. And if you remember the paint method, if screen is 2, it's going to call the game screen. Okay, so in the game screen, in the draw game screen, we are drawing the background and we're making the ball move. And if you remember, the move method is pretty simple. It just adds dx and dy to our x and y, and then we're going to draw the ball, which in turn draws the image at that x and y location. Okay, just a few more things. Back to Brick Breaker game. Down below, okay, we've already got our mouse pressed. So that's really for the first screen. Oh, I added this code. So I only want to advance to the next screen if screen is 1. Okay, you might add some more code in here later. But I didn't want to ruin, like if you were playing the game and the ball's moving and then somebody presses the mouse, I don't want the screen to automatically go up by 1. So I'm only doing that if screen is 1. Okay, and then down below, you can see that I've added 3 more methods. They are void methods: key pressed, key released, and key typed. And they each have a parameter that is key event E. And right now I'm only putting code inside key pressed, and I'm just assigning play to true. Okay, so as soon as I press a key, this will be marked true. I suppose, I'm just thinking of this now, I suppose I should only make this happen if screen is 2. Okay, I don't want to make a mistake of maybe if I'm on my home screen and I press a key, I wouldn't want this to switch to true right away. So I'm only going to make this active if screen is 2. All right, let's give it another try. So if I compile this and run it, okay, so again, on our home screen, we're going to click the mouse, and then on this screen, we're going to click and press any key, and then that will start the movement. If you want, you don't need a key listener. Like, you could do everything with mouse clicks. So even on this second screen, you could make it start when I press a mouse. And once we get the paddle drawn, you can even make the mouse control the paddle left and right. In fact, I've had students in past years make the paddle 2-dimensional. So instead of just being fixed to left and right, it can actually move up and down as well, which is kind of adds another feature to the game. And then you could use your mouse to control that paddle. But I've decided to add a key listener. So on the second screen, I'm going to use keys to play the game and to start the game. Okay, ask me if you have any questions, but give it a compile and see if yours works. And then in the next video, we're going to try and get that ball to bounce off the edges of the screen. Okay, bye for now.